time has come, the walrus said, to make the ultimate guide of Dollar Tree medications. I'm Grant Harding, a licensed pharmacist in 3 states, but you already knew that because that's apparently exactly what I look like. I have spent literally thousands of hours buying these medications, trying them, reviewing the prescribing information, and in some cases even reaching out to the manufacturers themselves. Come with me today as we indulge in this 5-part series discussing these topics. The information in this series is completely factual. If I don't mention something, it's either because Dollar Tree doesn't sell it or it's just not relevant. So then, let me be your Virgil, Dante, as we embark on this adventure. Ibuprofen and acetaminophen, 2 of the most common pain relievers in America. Today we'll be taking a look at them both. Pain has to be one of the most common reasons why people go to a pharmacy to purchase over-the-counter medications. Unfortunately, as you've noticed, they're not really that good. But a lot of the time I've noticed people use them incorrectly. There are different types of pain and different agents for different types. What's most important and what we're going to talk about today is pain due to inflammation and muscle pain. Now, whenever you get into the prescription world, it gets even more complicated, and just so happens that I'm actually an expert in pain management and pain and palliative care, and I create a lot of value for our physicians whenever I recommend these prescription medications. But today, the iconic duo at hand is acetaminophen and ibuprofen. Ibuprofen is great for pain due to inflammation. So this would be like if you accidentally bump your toe against something, or I don't know, perhaps you sprain your elbow while lifting weights. I do that a lot, actually. Or even gout. Gout is treated by any NSAID, and ibuprofen is an NSAID. Gout, by the way, is a buildup of uric acid, and it typically happens in the toe. It's kind of like you form crystals in your toe, and it gets really inflamed. The way this works is it inhibits an enzyme called COX, and it stops the whole inflammation cascade. Inflammation is generally good, but sometimes your body overreacts, and it isn't pleasant. Acetaminophen, on the other hand, is not an NSAID. It kind of works in a similar way, although science is kind of iffy on how it actually does work. But this is great for muscle pain. So if you sprain your back, which I happen to do all the time being very lanky, and sometimes you tear a muscle or hurt a muscle in your average everyday work, and this really helps with that. I've used this a lot, and it helps very well. It is worth noting that Dollar Tree does have a liquid version of acetaminophen, but not a liquid version of ibuprofen. A liquid version of ibuprofen does exist, and it's quite cost effective at Walmart, for example. I've had this before. It doesn't taste the best, but it's not really bad either, and actually this is actually the best value you can ever find for an acetaminophen liquid. I don't know how they do it. This is incredibly cheap. For $1.25 you get 4 floral ounces. Both of these, ibuprofen and acetaminophen, are great for treating fever. I can't form opinion on it myself. They seem to be equally as effective. Take whichever one you like. A lot of people use both. They'll flip back and forth, which does have its advantages, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But generally speaking, it's not recommended because the advantage you gain from doing that is not really worth how complicated it can be. But if you're like a nurse or a trained professional and you want to do it, there's no harm in it. Ibuprofen, because of its mechanism of action, can cause issues with bleeding, and particularly in the stomach. It also can cause issues with damaging the kidney. Acetaminophen can cause issues with liver toxicity. That's why there's a limit of 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams per day, depending on who you ask. And here is why people will use them both for fever. They don't want to go over the 3,000 or 4,000 milligram limit of acetaminophen. For topical pain, like maybe your skin kind of hurts, they do make patches at Dollar Tree. I have here with me a menthol 5% patch. They also have a lidocaine patch at times. These are okay options. A lot of the topical creams they have there for pain just really don't work, and it's for good reason. Whenever you absorb something into your bloodstream, it's going to have a much greater effect. Applying something topically isn't going to be absorbed. Not to any meaningful extent, anyway. Additionally, a lot of people were surprised to learn that these menthol patches and the lidocaine patches can be cut. You can split them and put them on different parts of the body if you want. For pain in the mouth, either if you have a cut or an ulcer or something, the best product at Dollar Tree is this benzocaine 20%. You will never find a better deal at any other store or any other supplier. This is like an $8 or $9, probably even $10 tube anywhere else. It's only $1.25 at Dollar Tree. The way this works is it kind of numbs the area, so you have to apply it a lot, unfortunately. That's one of the drawbacks. But I love this product. I use it all the time. Down here we have a very common medication, an acid. So the way these works is by neutralizing the acid in the stomach. Let's take a closer look. Upset stomach and diarrhea and constipation. There's lots of reason why someone would need an over-the-counter assisting medication for their GI tract. Thankfully, Dollar Tree's got you covered. One of the best products I've seen is for people who have heartburn, which is a buildup of stomach acid in the stomach, and it kind of causes an unwelcomed feeling. Just a simple antacid tablet. These would be comparable to like Tums, 500 milligram of calcium carbonate. And the way this does is what this does is it neutralizes the stomach acid and brings the pH up, not down, up. Remember, it's reversed. So we want to increase the pH so that increases the soothing effect. Now, I've tried this antacid before. 500 milligram is okay. I prefer a much heftier dose, so I would take 2 of these. You're allowed to take 2. These taste fine. They break apart easy. I use these, and I think they're a great product. For folks who need help going to the bathroom, this is probably the best product I've tried. This is Bisacodyl 5 milligram tablets. What's interesting about this is one of the few meds that actually gets absorbed at the end of the GI tract. And I can tell you from experience, folks, it works. If anyone is very astute, you will notice it doesn't say enterically coated anywhere on this package, but I did check with the prescribing information. It is enterically coated. It has to be, so it gets to the end of the GI tract, or else it would get destroyed prior. The most important thing, at least in my opinion, when selecting laxative is how quickly it works. This is 6 to 12 hours, and I can confirm that it probably doesn't even take 6. I can't believe I took this one time, but I did. There's also this milk of magnesia you can buy at the Dollar Tree, but it's like $5, so it's not really a traditional Dollar Tree medication. It works well, but it kind of made my tummy upset, so I'm kind of leaving it off the list, but it's an honorable mention. They also have famotidine, which helps decrease acid in the stomach, but the dose they have at Dollar Tree is only 10 milligram, and I don't think that's enough. I think you need at least 20 milligram, and whenever you factor in the cost of it, it's just not a good deal. So I left that one off the list as well. Simethicone is also a very safe medication. A lot of people kind of get this confused. It says on here anti-flatulent. Okay, it's not going to help gas coming out down there. It's gas coming up out here. It helps burps, basically. And this is very safe. It's an 80 milligram chewable tablet. You chew one and you're going to feel the gas come out of you. It's mint flavored, which I wasn't really excited to try, but it actually wasn't too bad. With so many different options for allergies, it can become overwhelming. Here's a mainstay, cetirizine, 10 milligram. We'll take a look at this in some more detail. Allergies can actually be treated with Dollar Tree medication, believe it or not. They have so many different types of diphenhydramine. Diphenhydramine is a first-generation antihistamine that helps with like a runny nose and itchiness and things of that nature. And they also have other second-generation antihistamines. So this is what I've learned from experimenting with their allergy medications. This is probably the one you're going to want to get, cetirizine 10 milligram. Now, this is a second-generation antihistamine, which means it has less of an anticholinergic effect, and it is less sedating. Now, the American Academy of Family Physicians endorsed the guidelines, which do slightly, ever so slightly, recommend cetirizine over any other antihistamine. And when I tell you it's slight, I mean it's really insignificant. There's no point in bickering about the differences between these second generations. Just pick this one just because that's the one they mention. If they don't have this available, I'd just pick any other second generation. The one thing I wasn't really a fan of, you only get 12 liquid gels. That's not very much for $1.25. It may behoove you to try Walmart or something like that if you know that you're going to need a lot of allergy medication. Additionally, the Hallmark first generation antihistamine from Dollar Tree is right here, diphenhydramine, 25 milligram. This has fallen out of favor recently because this anticholinergic side effect can cause issues with like drowsiness, and there's a link between anticholinergics and developing dementia. So what I'll say about this one is it's okay short term, but for long term, you're going to want a second generation like cetirizine. And the way both of these work is that they block histamine. Whenever there's an allergen that enters your body, in response, your body produces histamine, which sends off this cascade and starts inflammation as well as secretions. And both of these kind of block that histamine from doing its thing. But in the case of diphenhydramine, it also has an anticholinergic effect. It blocks acetylcholine. And because of that, it actually can dry up secretions. If you have a runny nose, this likely is going to be better than this, although that's not an official statement. That's just my professional opinion. So in short, if you have long-term allergies and you know you're going to need a lot, go with a second generation like cetirizine. If you're going to be in a short-term stint and you know that it's mostly a runny nose, this is fine for short-term. But notice here, you get 36 diphenhydramine and only 12 cetirizine. I'm not really a fan that you only get 12 of these. If you have a stuffy nose, this nasal spray is going to open it up. I can guarantee you that. This is oxymetazoline, 0.05%, and it's so good you can only use it for 3 days. That is a warning on the package, and it is very, very real. There are lots of people who have habits formed because of this. Do not underestimate this. Just because you can buy it over the counter doesn't mean this warning is not real. It's very, very real. This is a vasoconstrictor, by the way. Whenever you kind of inhale it, your nose is like, oh my gosh, everyone stop making that mucus. So it makes things better. For a stuffy nose, don't forget the power of saline. It's just salt water. There's no medicine here. It's very, very safe. Just squirt it up there. There's no harm in that at all. People often forget you don't actually need a medicine sometimes. What if you have an infection? Certainly you couldn't find anything at the Dollar Tree for that, right? Well, as a matter of fact, you can. Here we have Athlete's Foot Cream, which is clotrimazole, and of course, triple antibiotic ointment. Now, let's take a look at these in some more detail. So if you got an infection, or at least so you think, well, Dollar Tree's got you covered, but they only have anti-infectives for the skin. If you have an infection of anything else, you're going to need to see a doctor. But they have two really good products that I'm happy to share with you, and one of them is an antifungal. This stuff right here is goated. Clotrimazole 1%. Basically, the way this works is it infiltrates the fungus cell and then causes the cell wall to kind of dissolve, and it just kind of dies. But here's where people mess this up. You have to use this for a long time. I'm talking 2 weeks. You have to apply this twice a day for 2 weeks onto the infected area. And people forget that. They only use it for a couple of days and they're like, nah, this doesn't work. You have to be consistent. And this does work, I can promise you. I've used it before. But bear in mind, this is only for a fungal infection. For bacterial or viral, it's not going to work. There's a completely different organisms. They have different enzymes. They use different chemicals. This will not work. For a bacterial infection, we got the old triple antibiotic ointment. So this is bacitracin, neomycin, and polymyxin. Now this will work for bacteria. A lot of people sometimes get confused whenever I talk about Dollar Tree medications. These are not sophisticated things. This formula, these three things, have existed for a long period of time. There are so many labs all over the country that can make this in the blink of a finger. A finger. This is a well-known formula. Everybody uses it. I did notice a lot of people are allergic to this, though, so you need to be cognizant of that. So you have something on your skin. How do you know if it's bacterial or fungal? Well, It's pretty tough to tell, honestly. You might even need a trained professional. For the most part, I would say if you have a cut or an open wound, it's probably bacterial. If something's just growing on you and it kind of looks like scales, especially around your feet, it's probably fungal. There is about 1 million cough, cold, flu products here, as there would be with any pharmacy. But today we'll take a look at them and discuss them in a little bit more detail, because truth be honest, most of them are actually junk. For the cough and cold products, unfortunately, it's not going to be what you're expecting. A lot of people want me to tell them to walk in and get this package and take it and your cold will be better. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. This is all the information I can tell you so far. You need to look at the active ingredients. There's 2 main ones for a cough that you will see, and it's dextromethorphan and guaifenesin. Now, guaifenesin, in my professional opinion, does nothing. There are lots of studies that confirm this. It's supposed to help get the gunk out of your chest whenever you have mucus in there, but it just doesn't do anything at all. And to make things even more complicated, it's almost always sold in combination with dextromethorphan, which is a cough suppressant. So why would you want to suppress a cough and make it more productive at the same time? Some people like to claim that it suppresses the involuntary cough, but not the voluntary cough. So you'll still cough, but it'll be on your own terms and you'll get the gunk out. I think that's a load of hogwash. Look, here's the deal. Guaifenesin you can safely ignore. It might as well just be a go-away medicine that you tell people to get just because they're annoying. It's very safe. It doesn't interact with anything, so there's no harm that can ever be done by recommending it. I think that's why it still exists. It's a favorite of people who don't actually want to help. Dextromethorphan really isn't much better, but it's the best we have, honestly, for suppressing a cough. Do note that dextromethorphan does have medication interactions. This is the United States of America. Virtually everybody is on an antidepressant. Dextromethorphan does interact with antidepressants, although the significance of that is pretty low. Is it really worth that risk? I don't know. That's something you and your doctor and your pharmacist can determine. Taken with an antidepressant, it can cause something called serotonin syndrome, which basically means you kind of like throw up and you're like really hot and everything. But, it just rarely happens, though. When you are sick, here's what you do. If you have a fever, take acetaminophen or ibuprofen. If you have a cough, you can take dextromethorphan. If you have nausea, there's lots of different products like Emetrol and Nausine. If you have a stuffy nose, you would want to take Sudafed or the oxymetazoline nasal spray. If you have a runny nose, you would want an antihistamine like Benadryl. I am not a fan of these combination products. Whenever they have several different things all crammed into one, I don't like that because odds are you're going to be taking medication that you don't actually need. And besides that, it's better to just have the separate individual things anyway, because at some point later in your life, you're going to need one without the other 2, or 2 without the last third one, or whatever. You have a lot more variability then. I have a full video on my channels about how to treat the flu and cold a lot better, but this is just a Dollar Tree video today. To briefly summarize how I became synonymous with Dollar Tree medications, a very long time ago I posted a video of me walking down the Dollar Tree and talking about the medications. This was during a period in my life where I had a lot of debt from pharmacy school, and I used to shop at Dollar Tree for medications, any way that I could save a few bucks and cut a few corners. And it ended up being a pretty significant financial impact for me, so I decided to tell people about it. Long story short, people really enjoyed that information, and I went through the entire medication aisle of Dollar Tree and tried every single medicine, compared them to other alternatives you'd find at other pharmacies, and just gave my overall rating on them. Folks, I have devoted so much of my life to trying Dollar Tree medications. I hope you appreciate it. This is my craft, my creed, my magnum opus. For years to come, folks will view this video and know he's insane. And that was always my intention from the beginning. No, I'm just kidding. I am so happy to help people save money. And long story short, whenever I mentioned that I used to shop at the Dollar Tree, and I still do for medicine, I had so much debt. It was honestly debilitating. I was looking for a respite anywhere I could find, and I found that in the Dollar Tree medication aisle. So this may seem quirky and fun and informative, but there's a lot more of a financial and emotional impact for some people. Something that I hope none of you ever have to experience, honestly. Anyway, glad you stuck around. Like the video and stay around my channels. I make videos like this all the time.